Hello and welcome to HMS TechTalks. In the last episode, we spoke to James Kime about security for remote access of machines. And today we're going to talk about security from another perspective. We're going to talk about security on the factory floor, OT security or operational technology security. And with us to talk about that today, we have Thomas Vasen, Business Development Manager here at HMS, our business unit Anybus here in Halmstad. Welcome, Thomas.
Thank you very much, Thomas. I'm very happy to be here.
Lots of Thomases here today. So speaking about security on the factory floor, you've been working with this for a long time and seen the development. If we start by looking at the trends, where would you say that we are when it comes to security in industrial environments?
Well, let's be honest, Thomas, it does not look very bright.
Really?
Last year, the World Economic Forum issued a report where they stipulated that manufacturing is now the most targeted industry for cyber criminals. Before, it used to be the financial sector. Now it's they have put so much protection in place, so they've simply moved on. The industrial environment has lagged in putting in protection strategies, and digitalization has gone very quickly. So therefore, this is happening there. Okay. We have to be honest that the majority of the cases that you read about in the papers are ransomware, and they are very often impactful on the IT side of the business, flowing over to OT. They often do impact production, but might not have been targeted towards production specifically. But this is changing. Gartner issued warning statements saying that they expect the first humans to get harmed or even death to occur due to cyber attacks in industrial environments.
Oh, so actual physical damage to people.
Yes,
that could happen.
Because when cyber incidents happen in industrial environments, they become safety risks. So right. It's more challenging there.
Yeah, that sounds horrible. How did we end up in this situation?
Yeah, well, one of the main reasons is this rapid drive for digitalization. I mean, more and more machines are connected in order to measure what's happening and also to support an increased effort of customization. Every shoe must be unique and has to be produced in a unique way. Of course, there's a lot to gain here in terms of speed and efficiency and also in making sure that resources do not get wasted. So nobody wants to stop that. But as a result of this rapid digitalization, security has been lagging behind. So things have become more and more connected, but they are not well protected. A technical trend that is worth mentioning is that in the past, we had a lot of serial bus networks running a Profibus or Modbus or DeviceNet or some sort of protocol like that. And they are now gradually changing towards a more common standard-based industrial Ethernet instead, which means that all the units are easier accessible by different systems and people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We've seen this in our network analysis that it's a clear trend towards industrial Ethernet, although Fieldbus is still going strong. So could you say that that the old field buses like Profibus are actually more secure?
More secure is a dangerous statement, but there's definitely a certain amount of security due to obscurity. I mean, just by the fact that less people understand these protocols and have the means to connect to them, you might need special equipment and special skills. It also means that there's less people that could actually impose a threat in those type of networks. This sort of transition from bus to Ethernet has gone on for a long time, and many people have still designed Ethernet networks in the same way bus networks were designed. So there is a guard, like the PLC. Everything has to come through the PLC. But this is changing now as well, because to make sure the optimization is gone in the best way, different tools need to be accessing the assets directly in the industrial network. And therefore, the networks have to be more opened up. Every sensor and every device will have an IP address, and many more protocols will be utilizing the network at the same time. And this, of course, increases the threat service tremendously.
Yeah. As soon as they are connected, you open up an attack vector. That's
Absolutely.
how it works. But so the million-dollar question here is, what can you do about it? What can we do about security when it comes to everything being connected?
The best strategy is to compartmentalize. So understand the risk, do a risk-based analysis of your networks, of your systems, understand what the impact would be of certain devices or parts of your network going down, and then creating groups of devices that have similar risk profiles or have dependencies of each other and isolate them in different compartments in them.
Okay.
Control the traffic and the conversations between the devices in those places.
So compartmentalize, meaning that you put a restricted compartment, so to speak, where everything is kind of locked into that compartment.
Yes, exactly. You could think of it like maybe like a big forest fire. Okay. Large forests in Sweden, if a fire occurs somewhere, it will spread like crazy. And of course, you can fly over with planes and dump a lot of water to try to contain it. But this is quite difficult in the end. So you have to add other strategies as well. And of course, a very good strategy is to actually cut the trees so that the fire cannot spread. Right. So create sort of corridors in the forest and isolate a segment of the forest. So maybe only that part is impacted, but the rest of the trees are saved. Right, yeah. And this is exactly the same in networks. You create different sections, have corridors in between, conduits they're called, and there you control the traffic so that the fire doesn't spread in between. Okay. Only in this way you can actually reduce the impact. And I say impact because it's very important to understand that it will happen someday. It's just a matter of time. So it's better to be prepared and make sure that you can recover quickly and that you make sure that whatever happens is contained.
Yeah, so we need to talk about security as not something to sweep under the carpet. This is something that everybody needs to take action on.
Take action on and be proactive. Yeah. We didn't used to have locks on our doors in the villages either, but nowadays you have to, and everybody accepts it. It's just a matter of life.
Some might say that security is really an IT issue. That it's the responsibility for the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer. How does that work? Is it that true that it's an IT problem really?
This is a very sensitive topic. It's absolutely true that the CISO is the highest responsible person for cybersecurity in an organization. Is typically reporting to the board of directors, both on the status of it, requesting budget, and also when an incident occurs, he or she will definitely be in the hot seat, right? But there is a big problem, and that is that the CISO's primary responsibility is to protect the intellectual property for a company. We usually talk about that in terms of CIA. So the CISO has responsibility for confidentiality first, integrity of the data second, and last about availability.
CIA, good abbreviation when we talk about security.
Exactly. But so think of it, from an email system perspective. An email destined for the CEO, for his or her eyes only. But if the email server would be down for 10 minutes, so be it. Yeah. I think we'll survive, right? So you can just reboot, no problem. This is not the case in an operational environment. So the operational manager in a factory plant or critical infrastructure has completely different priorities. Actually, the exact opposite. Availability first. Uptime, most important. Must secure business continuity. Second, integrity, and then as last, confidentiality. If you think about it from maybe an ice cream manufacturer perspective, if a hacker would find out how many ice creams were produced, last week, so be it. But if he or she causes disruption on the machine, then that could cause significant downtime because the machine might need to be cleaned before it can take it into operations again. So this hurts the business.
Yeah, and although ice cream is a very important issue, it's there are nuclear plants and these really dangerous stuff. So
yes, exactly.
You mentioned earlier that there's no doubt that this connection is needed. I mean, the benefits are so many. With you can access the machine, you can data from it, you can control it remotely. But so it's a risk that we have to take. But How should a manufacturing company think about security when, because it has to be connected?
That's a good point. And as we increase this digitization, the OT systems will become more and more dependent on specific IT resources as well. It could be as simple as the ordering infrastructure or something like that. So we see a clear trend of IT for OT, the IT systems that are crucial to keep OT running, and you treat those separately. You treat them as part of the OT system to ensure their availability as such.
Right. So systems specifically for OT.
Yes, exactly. In the past, you would have had maybe a defense in depth strategy or an OT-IT separation strategy, where according to Purdue model, you would create different layers and you would separate everything out. This is not really reality now anymore. Since the systems are connected and interdependent of each other, it's much more logical to think in zones. Connect what is dependent on each other clearly to each other in a separate zone, and treat the ones with a separate with the similar security level as one unit.
Okay.
And this is the approach in IEC ISA 62443 standardization.
Right. So creating this zone so that if there's a forest fire, that zone is
exactly different zones, and between the zones you add what they call a conduit, and a conduit is a network device of some sort that can control the traffic and be very specific about what it should allow and not allow.
So speaking of solutions, HMS and the Anybus team is now launching new products for network security, Anybus Defenders. Tell us a little bit more about that and what makes them special.
So the Anybus Defenders are firewalls, industrial firewalls from OT people for OT environments. So they are specifically designed to work very well in industrial environments, inside factories, or in critical infrastructures. Ruggedized with software focused on segmentation strategies. Right. You could say you could use an enterprise firewall as well, but enterprise firewalls are designed with a different mindset. In an enterprise, you have the job to protect all traffic from coming out to coming in, not allowed. But anybody from the inside to the outside should be allowed. I mean, otherwise we employees could not do our job. In an industrial environment, this looks different, because in an industrial environment, threats can come from all sides. A threat can come from the IT side, from sort of above. It can come from a supervisory level as well. But it can also come through remote access, or maybe a visiting worker on the shop floor, or maybe from another machine leaking over. So therefore, a industrial firewall needs to be much more restrictive on traffic flows in all directions. So the Anybus Defenders are built with that in mind, being denied by default everywhere. To protect effectively in an industrial environment, you must also understand industrial protocols. Many firewalls will say that they have DPI supporting thousands of protocols, but that doesn't really help. You need to be very good on supporting just these industrial protocols. Right. So instead of offering thousands of options, we actually support the way to record traffic, and then the system will build a industrial profile automatically in order to help you simplify implementing these advanced protection strategies.
Right, and the Anybus team, of course, have 20, 30 years of experience when it comes to industrial networks. So.
Exactly, and unfortunately, it's like that in the IT world as well. That many buy firewalls with lots of features, but then don't end up using many of them at all because they're too complicated. And we do not accept this. At Anybus, at HMS, we want to embrace simplicity, and we have worked to make it simple to use advanced features here for the firewalls as well. Last and not least, maybe it's also relevant to say that you have to think about the licensing strategies as well. So most security technology in general is usually licensed as a subscription model, which also means that if something happened with the renewal, the device might stop working or stop working optimally. And that is, of course, not acceptable in an operational environment. So instead, we have chosen to run perpetual models. You can install the Anybus Defender, you rely on it, it will work for years. Of course, you can upgrade it and you can adjust things, but on your terms to decide in your maintenance window when it's time to do things. Yes.
Okay, interesting. You've been out scouting for the market for these products for quite some time now. What would you say are the early adopters here? Where do you see interest here initially?
Yes, it's a very interesting question. It's a very separated, segmented market. There are so many solutions out there. There's really no one-stop shop. It makes it very difficult for the buyer to understand also what they need. But I did categorize a certain order of what type of solutions make sense to add more protection to certain to operational infrastructures. And the general trend is that there's a lot of focus, also fueled by regulation, on first of all the asset inventory type of solutions. So generally saying you must know what you have before you can protect it. And there's a lot of truth in this, of course. And a lot of those solutions, they are combined with threat detection monitoring as well. So monitoring solutions that you put on some places in your network so that they will alert you when they see suspicious behavior. These sound great, but they're quite difficult to implement. And the most critical problem with it is that it warns you too late. It doesn't actually protect anything. It will only detect something. So I argue that it's much more needed to focus on protection, to be strategic ahead of time, to make sure you both reduce the risk of something happening at all, but also reduce the impact of something when something does happen, to make sure that it's contained as quickly as possible. So protection has maybe been lagging a bit and is now taking a forefront more for industrial environments as well.
Always nice to be alarmed when something happens, but it's much better to be actually protected when it does happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it might require a little bit of re-architecturing, but there are innovative solutions to also embed it transparently in the network. But it's usually worth it, and it will both reduce the risk of something happening, but also probably increase the quality of your network. Reduce for other risks as well.
Okay, so some real security gains to be had with the new Anybus Defenders. Looking forward to hearing more about those. Thomas, thank you very much for talking to us about network security.
You're welcome.
And if you want to know more about the Anybus Defenders or network security in general, you can visit our website, hmsnetworks.com, where you can also find more tech talks around other security issues and other technical issues like 5G, for example. Thanks very much for talking to us. Thanks very much for listening to us today. Thank you.